Elise Båtnes, welcome to Beyond Stage Fright. Now, as a violinist, you've played concertos with all the Norwegian orchestras and numerous others, starting by making your debut with the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra at the age of 10. You made your first album when you were 15, and you're a very experienced chamber musician, and you've been the leader of the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra since 2008. Tell me, first of all, what's it like? What's the job of being a leader of the orchestra? And what are the pressures that come along with that?
Well, I like to think about being a leader as kind of the link between the conductor and the players, as in a way the playing conductor, to translate a lot of things that the conductor seems to want and to show it by leading, like physically playing. And obviously I also need to lead my first violin group. And be kind of a chamber musician playing together with the other leaders of the strings. And I also try to be in contact with the winds. Both, I try to breathe with them, I try to look at them, basically acknowledging every aspect of the score and all the musicians in the orchestra. Of course, every musician will look at the conductor, will interpret the conductor and play as they think the conductor wants them to play. So I might put my role a bit higher up than maybe most of my colleagues would think. But in a way, I like to think of everything, like also even in the big orchestra, that it's chamber music. It's all about chamber music, and it's about how we, in a way, look when we play and acknowledge other voices and stuff. So yes, basically the link between the orchestra and the conductor.
Are there ever any situations where you have to take over and lead the orchestra if it's not quite gelling with the conductor?
It has happened, and I also have had situations I've been after a general rehearsal, actually walked over to people saying, "Can we do this on our own? I'll give you what you need, and we just play together." And I think it's not ideal. It's not an ideal situation, but it's this chamber music. It's like leading a chamber orchestra, basically, and making people sure they can actually rely on you, how you play, and that you will be on top of it and be able to guide things through like a difficult situation. Luckily, most conductors are better than that, so they will. I won't have to do it that often, but it's an interesting experience, and it's when it works, it's actually quite fun.
And what are the other roles of being a leader aside from the obvious musical ones?
I think one have to, of course, prepare, for preparations, really know what's going on in all the different voices, knowing the score. And I think you also need to produce some sound, some kind of security, physically, that people actually can see that you know where you are. I think the problem with if leaders starts to act or look like they are unsecure, that this unsecure feeling will spread amongst the ensemble. So I think the appearance, the physical appearance, is also very important, to be steady and reliable, and together with being nice, maybe is a good combination. I don't know.
Are there pressures that go along with that position?
I'm lucky. I play in a very good orchestra, and I have lots of colleagues that really are on top of what they're doing. And I think people in my group, in the first violin group, if I wouldn't come in, they would they know where to play. But I think still it's you can't really do any mistakes, and you can't really be like mentally away for a few seconds and then be back. You have to be really present all the time and into the situation, and you can't relax a second. Basically, you have to look, you have to react to what you see, you have to listen, you have to react to what you listen. And I think it's this being on top of it all the time is probably the most tiring or exhausting and difficult thing about being a leader.
And how do you prepare for that? How do you actually prepare for a performance?
If it's a physically and mentally exhausting performance, I would like to have a 10-minute nap a couple hours before, just a little bit. It's not long, isn't needed, but a little bit. I like to be. I'm lucky here in Oslo. I can walk to work. It's like 30-minute walk, and it's nice to be out to get the body going and to feel like fresh air. And then lately, the last 10 years, I'm basically addicted to having a cup of coffee before going on stage. But I think mainly it's being able to concentrate on and focusing just before going on stage if there's difficult things. I remember playing, the first time I played Tristan, the whole opera, the Wagner opera, before the concert I sat down with the music and looked through every page just to remembering where the spots were that needed my even more special attention. And I think it gives a kind of a security of and this feeling of being well prepared, together with physically being in shape from a bit of sleep and a bit of walk.
What about the other things aside from the musical aspects of leading? I mean, I know you have to sit on panels, you have to do auditions. What are the pressures of those?
I remember the first years after I was what I call on the other side of the screen. I wasn't the one doing the audition, I was the one sitting and listening to people doing it. And I felt even more nervous than I used to be on the other side. It's an awkward situation. It's we're always thinking about how to find better ways of finding people for the orchestra, but in a way it's performing is what we do, so it's what's needed to be. We have to see if people are able to perform under pressure, because that's what our daily life is about. So but it's a terrible thing. You stand there alone, and instead of playing together with 15 others in your group, you basically have to do everything on your own. I've been teaching a bit now students in auditioning of repertoire and situation, and I try to tell them, I think it's very important that the good thing about it, we always have the music to hang on to. It's great music. For a violinist, we play Mozart, we play Sibelius or Tchaikovsky, and the excerpts as well. It's wonderful music. You can go into the music. You can be inside the music instead of being outside yourself, watching yourself trying to perform. And I think this mental twist, turning it around, is very important to try to catch. What one tend to forget also the candidates, and I remember thinking the same way when I did auditions, is you think the panel on the other side is actually a lot of people really trying to be mean to you, and but I think when you sit on the other side, the only thing you actually want is for people to play well. That's what we want to, for the people themselves, but also for our sakes. We want people being able to play wonderfully. So it's not like you're sitting there trying to find any aspects in their playing which you don't like and think. It's really a positive attitude, and that's also something one should try to remember.
Is it necessary, do you think, to have the screen so that you can't see the person? Does that make a difference?
Personally, I like being able to look at the one playing, and I think also that gives the candidate a huger range of being able to present themselves as a musician. Obviously, some people like to have the screen to play towards because you can make yourself believe that it's nobody there on the other side to just playing to screen. But I think also without the screen it would look like more and seem like more of a concert, and I think trying to make it as a concert instead of an audition is also like a twist that is important, because playing a concert you're supposed to play to give something to the audience, like to have to the listeners, but in an audition you try just to show how good you are yourself. So I think the concert aspect is important.
You're in enormous demand as a leader with a number of different orchestras, and you do a lot of solo work and a lot of chamber music as well as teaching. How do you juggle all of this high pressure, demanding work that you have on a regular basis?
Being doing solo, being a soloist, the pressure obviously is bigger than sitting in the orchestra playing a symphony without any solo parts in it or anything. But being able to do it and put pressure on yourself and manage to get through it gives you the security as a musician to continue. And I think the variety then to different levels of pressure put on yourself also gives you better ability of actually meeting your daily life as a professional musician.
Would you say that you build up a stamina for pressure?
Yes, that's maybe the thing, doing a lot of different things and challenging yourself over a long period and never stopping challenging yourself. It helps you building this platform you need to be able to feel the security in your job. And I also think, for instance, I often think about the difference of having 3-bar solo in a symphony as concertmaster and then playing a whole violin concerto, and sometimes it feels almost upfront feels the same, because this small 3-bar thing, you have such a short amount of time to actually perform, but with the whole concerto there's much more things that can go wrong, if you can put it that way, but still you have more time to be able to give something to the audience. So I think doing both these things are important to build the stamina, develop as a musician.
You do a lot of leading of British orchestras. Do you notice a big difference between the orchestras on the continent, like the Oslo Philharmonic, and the British orchestras you are leader with?
Well, the biggest difference obviously is that we are here in Oslo. We're very lucky. We have better time to prepare. I'm really impressed with British orchestras, the way they actually things just fall into their places in a very short amount of time. Obviously, because it has to, and it's the way they work, most of them. I think there are both good and bad sides about having a lot of time and having not too much time to prepare. I think what we can here in Oslo and other orchestras with longer preparation time, longer rehearsal periods, is you can build this confidence, this feeling of doing something together and the security of being part of something. Everyone knows what will happen. And I think for British orchestras with 1 or 2 short rehearsals before a concert, you have to rely on what you've done before instead of what you actually have been working on during that short amount of time. I find working with English orchestras fascinating at the concerts. Like, everyone has to focus really, really well. And the energy on stage when that happens is amazing. And I also think, like, the concert sounds really wonderful, compared to just before the last rehearsal before. So something really happens with this focus and energy on stage, which one can lose if you have too much rehearsal time. Yeah, I think that will over time be very tiring and do something to you both physically and mentally, I'm sure. Because you have to be so alert all the time, and this nice flow feeling, what I often feel in my orchestra here in Oslo, when everyone knows what's happening and you know you're well prepared, you can rely on the work that has been done up to the concert, and you can actually just go with the music and enjoy playing together with your colleagues. I think that gives relaxed is maybe the wrong word, but it's more of a for your body and soul. I think that's more relaxing than being like on the edge of your chair all the time, really aware of things happening, and the feeling of maybe not knowing exactly what you are required to do, and the pressure of being able to see what you have to do immediately every second. I think that will in the long term do something to you, both mentally and physically. Yeah.
I know that you have, in the Oslo Phil, you have a lot of things that British orchestras don't have. Like, you take a physiotherapist on tour with you, and you have an orchestral doctor. And these are things that we would dream of over here. Does it make a real difference to the musicians having this kind of thing?
I think especially on long tours, having physio on tour with you, being able to provide with some treatment when needed is very important. And I think the mental side of us are linked to the physical side. So if the body works in a proper way, it's easier to have the mental side of it work as well. Having a doctor is also like, it's not so much getting the pills when you're sick, but I think the talk they have, like we meet up with this doctor every second year or something, and it's as much as like tests and stuff, it's also a talk about how the situation at work seems to be, and if you have any issues, if you're having any troubles, how you feel, also how you feel about pressure and stress and things. And I think just being able to talk to someone about it is very important.
In your role as a leader, as a concertmaster, you also have to be the voice between the players in the orchestra, the soloist, the conductor, management. How do you manage all of that, and what are the pressures that come with that?
Well, it's in a way very rewarding, but also very frustrating to be that kind of middle part. I think basically treating everyone with respect and listening and taking everyone seriously is the first step, and obviously also being nice and understanding, and it's also, yes. But I think it's rewarding instead of being like something pressured, well, put onto me, like pressure, because I get to know all aspects of the orchestra life, and I get to know a lot more than my colleagues, and I can also meet and talk to a lot of very interesting people, like conductors, soloists, and I think it's. I feel very lucky being able to do so, and of course, sometimes during my 20 years in orchestra, 25 years in, I've met conductors which are not that nice, but obviously we all are humans and we have our issues, and we react differently under pressure and under stress, and I think has to do with treating people with respect.
And what does it feel like to you as a leader in those moments in a concert where the orchestra's really coming together and playing incredibly well?
I think it's the most amazing feeling, this like huge orchestra, 100 people, functioning like one big person, or yes, what you would like to call it. I think it's being one tiny like part of a thing like that is the most wonderful feeling I've ever have, and I think that's also maybe why I so much enjoy playing in a big orchestra, like this feeling of everyone going the same direction, everyone thinking the same, feeling the same, playing the same way, and it's just like I get, it must be like surfing on the perfect wave somehow. It's just, you just go with it and everything just feels perfect.
Elise Båtnes, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you.